Hello, it is Wednesday, and I'm Beverly Hosford. This is Erin Nitschke, my friend and colleague at NFPT, the National Federation of Professional Trainers. We are a continuing education company and certification for fitness professionals, and we do this live show every single week for the last 6 months, and we're kind of excited to be crossing that 6-month threshold because when we got started, we didn't know how it was going to go or how long we would do it for. And I didn't even get to tell you this yet, Erin, but, we do this show for personal trainers, but we actually have quite an interesting range of audience members. I just found out today that my massage therapist watches our show afterwards because she's always working, but she watches it every week. And we have a massage therapist, a sleep coach, we have some of the folks at NFPT headquarters. So we've got a wide range of people watching, and I think our goals with this show originally were always to build a community, to lift people up, to give them ideas, and always kind of be centered around health. And today we're going to talk about a dude named Seth Godin, and you may or may not know who he is. So I'm going to just mention who he is, and then Erin and you and I will check in. But Seth is he's an author of 18 books that have been bestsellers around the world, and he founded a couple of different companies, one called Yo-Yo-Dine and one called Squidoo, and he's got a really awesome blog that you might want to check out sometime. And I'm going to go ahead and throw up in the comments here. I'm going to quickly do a tweet. So today we're going to be really focusing on self-growth and professional growth, and so if you know anybody who wants to grow, this episode I feel like is going to transform us all because Erin and I don't even know yet what we might get into today. We've just been really inspired by this video that Seth did with a company called Creative Live. And I'll throw that, I just got to find the link. I'll throw it in the comments here if you want to go watch it later. But we're going to talk about that video today because I know Erin and I both have pages of notes that we learned. And yeah, we found out about this video because my cousin Eric told us about it. So, rah, Eric. So anyone that's here, say hello, tell us where you're from. And I'm from Montana, Erin's from Wyoming, and NFPT is located in Indiana. And so, yeah, we're going to just share some, this wisdom is, worth millions of dollars. So hang out and join us. So how are you doing today, Erin?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm pumped about this.
Yeah, I know. It's a great video. I think everybody, regardless of profession or where you're at in your journey in life, needs to pay attention to Seth's words of wisdom.
Yeah, totally. So, Erin, why don't you start us off? I'm going to just go find the link really quick and throw it up here.
Okay.
And that way, if anyone wants, here we go. I found it pretty quickly. But yeah, why don't you start us off with, some of your favorite aspects of this video. And this video, by the way, it's an interview. It was an interview done with Seth. So
yeah. So I think I had so many amazing points that I learned from that video. And so one of the first ones that I think can speak to everybody is, it can be overwhelming to try to build a career or go from point A to point B because of all the stuff that's in between, how many steps you need to take. And one of the things that he talked about is the best thing for you to do to get you where you want to be is to do something today. Mm-hmm. No matter how small it is, no matter how seemingly insignificant it might be in the grand scheme of things, do something today. So if you are already in a business, what can you do to make it better? Just one simple thing that you can do today. Maybe it's reaching out to a client. Maybe it's taking a look at how you schedule your day. Maybe it's exploring, how you can use social media to your advantage to help build it. It doesn't even have to take an hour of your time, just even devoting 15 minutes once a day to taking a little step, because eventually those steps are going to add up and you're going to get somewhere. But if you try to look at it as this huge journey, this huge mountain to climb, it's going to overwhelm you and then you're not going to want to start because it seems so insurmountable. So do something today to get you where you want to be.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I think they asked him what's the secret, and Seth said, that's it, there's no secret. Like, it's just like exercise. Like, there's no secret to exercise. You just have to do something every day that keeps you committed to exercise or nutrition, and it's just so simple. So what was there anything that, so we watched this video for the first time like a month ago, I think. Was there anything that you could think of that he got you to change your habits at all? Because I know for me, like, after he said that, like, I started changing some of my habits, and some of them were inspired by you. Like, I just got myself a little more involved with some of the social media stuff that I wanted to do this year, and getting my work out there more. So it just like reminded me, like, hey, if I can just do one more social media post or talk to one more person on social media every day and connect, because I love connecting with people, that would probably make a difference for me.
Yeah. And for me, it was very much the same thing. I mean, it did make me evaluate, like, okay, no one can predict what the future holds for any of us, good and bad. But we all have, I think, desires or aspirations or goals that we want to achieve. Maybe they're not in their purest or most specific form at the moment. But for me, it made me kind of take a look at, okay, what are the things that I'm doing really well right now? And what's one thing that I want to do to make that better? And I'll just use an example from writing. You know, Bev and I both write for numerous organizations, and the requests are not always at the same time. And so it gets difficult to try to keep up with, okay, I've got to get pitches to this organization. I've got to get pitches to this. I've got to write a query for this. So for me, it made me think ahead of the game a little bit. Like, okay, so what are some things that I can kind of get organized now that are just going to make it that much easier when I have to make those pitches or I have to write those articles? So I'm not constantly feeling like I'm always trying to run behind the bus and catch up, or even just like keep pace with it. And so, because before I would, start thinking about it, but I'd never write it down. So now anytime something comes to mind, I just write it down on a list of potential future ideas. And I'm like, that's one thing that can get me where I want to be later on, is just harnessing those ideas that I have so they're not so fleeting. And then I can craft an article around it. And maybe it becomes a journal pitch one day. You never know. And it's always that constant desire for me to practice getting better. That's really what professional growth is all about.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a simple change like that can make a world of difference.
Right.
You had told me a while ago that you keep a spreadsheet where every blog you write, you make sure if you post it in all your different social media channels. And I have a spreadsheet like that, but I would just keep track of the blogs. So I added columns to it so that I can now make sure that I carry it out there. Because if you're going to spend all this time creating something, why not share it like with people more widely? And I love what Seth says. He says, I made something, want to see?
Yeah.
And that's just it. Like, you've got to share it. And before I would think like, oh, blog posts and like, let's just leave it at that. But now I'm even reposting blogs from last year that had to do with skiing or have to do with taxes, that they're still good blogs, even though they went out a year ago. And I feel like just listening to that show, it really inspired that in me. And what he said that really got me to do that was, he said, if you were to disappear, would anyone miss you?
Right.
And I was like, ooh.
Don't open that door.
If you had a funeral tomorrow, like, who would come to it? And when I was a personal trainer, I could say for sure that if I disappeared, people would miss me, like, for certain. All of my clients, because when I moved, they were all like, oh my God, you're leaving. And now as an online presence, I don't know how many people would miss me. So I thought, what can I do this year to make it so that people would miss me? So like, I'm really making a bigger push to get people, like my cousin and I have been working on taking pictures of anatomy. I've been taking better pictures of my skeleton and my ribbons, which is something I love sharing with people. And I'm really trying to push to get more social media posts out there, just one muscle at a time. It's something I've always wanted to do. Like, let's just talk about one muscle, like keep it real simple. Right. And I'm really working hard on that now, to at least get like one muscle out there every week, so that if like say I miss a couple weeks, people are like, hey, where's the muscle of the week? You know, like that was kind of my thought, was like, maybe people would miss that if I got more consistent with it. Cause I feel like consistency is really the heart of everything. But yeah, when you said, would anyone miss you if you were gone? It's like, oh, I think about that with fitness and with personal trainers. And I think people definitely miss them, you know, if they're gone.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in making sure that we're seen, but the real, I think, test of your value is if your absence is felt, you know, and doing things that are so significant that they do make a change. And that's really hard to do. But I think one thing that I loved that he said, it's actually a quote that I wrote down. It's persistently, consistently, and generously bring it forward. So he's got 3 things there that he's talking about, like be persistent in your efforts, but be consistent in them, and be generous with your knowledge. Share it so that if one day when you are absent, people will look back and go, gosh, I really miss X. I really miss Y. And just don't be afraid to bring it out there.
Yeah. That's really great. Let me see here what else we could share. I just loved, so Seth runs this program called, I think, MBA Live. It's an online MBA of sorts. He only takes 200 people into it. And as an educator, I was just so tickled by this. He said that they give their students 14 projects to do. And they don't give them any lectures. They don't give them any content, any information. And, you know, if you guys don't know, Erin's an online teacher as of last year. Before that, she was in the classroom all the time, but now she's solely online. And I think about you because you're like in the trenches with this, but
yes.
What do you think about that? So like he said he said all the information's out there. Like the content you need to find is out there. We give you a project. They give their students a project, and then they have to go find the information yourself. Like basically like Google it. The thing that all teachers want to say when students keep asking the same question over and over again, it's always tempting to say, just Google it.
Yeah. You know, I think one of the points that he made is that, you know, the infrastructure of education is broken, and he's 250% right about that. I see degradation all the time, and I teach for 4 different schools, and that includes a university. And prior to that, I taught for one single school, and the degradation continues. Sometimes it's related to laws that are in place that are made by people that aren't truly educators, but that want to tell educators how to educate. Big mistake. And then some of it's related to really bad leadership. Some of it might be budgetary constraints. So I see that degradation all the time. And we tend to lose sight, I think, of the value of what learning is, and all of the research related to adult learning. And that's what we're dealing with here in college, are adults, theoretically. And you know, the research is all about make it relevant. If you want them to learn, it has to be relevant to them. And it also, project-based learning is it's application, and that's what they need. And I think that needs to be integrated at younger and younger ages, so that when they come to college, they're able to apply it, and they don't have to kind of be handheld in terms of this is what you need to do. So I love projects. I give them out all the time. And sometimes based on accreditation or, you know, institutional policies, you don't get a lot of freedom in that all the time, which is unfortunate. So I think we'll continue to see the landscape of education change, and I hope it's for the better. I question that at this point. We're kind of losing value, I think, especially at the community college level. And like I said, there are multiple forces at play there for sure. And, but project-based learning, yeah, it gets them to think about it. And when students hear the word project, they're like, oh my God, I don't want to do a project. Just tell me what I need to know. But that's not what a good teacher does. A good teacher points them in the direction of where to look, but not exactly what to see. And I think we're getting away from that. I think we're more or less like, let's just get them through the door because accreditation matters and completion matters. That's not teaching them to be survivors or thoughtful contributors to society if we look at it that way. So I think Seth has a great model because it forces them to do something that they're not often asked to do, which is to think critically and problem solve and then apply it and talk about what is significant to them. So I'm all about the projects and it ticks them off and I don't care because at the end of the semester, they're like, oh my gosh, I learned so much about myself. And I'm like, told you.
Yep.
And then they don't hate it. It's the hard work it's just like exercise. If you want something to change, you got to do what you've never done.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember giving my anatomy students, when I taught at a community college, I'd have them make anatomy note cards. Yeah. And there was always like 10% of them were like, can I just buy some? And I was like, yeah, but then I'm going to give you a different project. Like this one doesn't resonate with you. I'll let you do something else, but I'm going to give you something else because they were like, I don't really have an artistic, value or whatever. And
not about that.
Yeah, and it's like, but then I get emails like, I always get emails like, I still have my note cards, I still use them or whatever. And so you're right, and yeah, it's a good. I mean, there's always going to be the ones that don't really want to put the effort out there, but perhaps it's not the right domain for them to be working in, or it's not the right subject matter. But yeah, I loved how Seth said, like, I don't want to teach you information. I want to teach you how to see, basically, like teach you how to see. And I heard once that, like, with kids, I heard that they'll try to get you to do everything for them. Like if you let them, like, they'll let you just keep feeding them and they'll never learn to feed themselves. Or I have had the opposite experience with my son. I don't know, like, if he's just really different or if people just think that, but like, he gets mad at me if I don't let him try. Yeah. Like today, his dump truck was stuck between the recliner and the table, and he was kind of yelling out, like, help me, help me. And Carl went in and he grabbed it out for him, and then Isaac got more upset. Yeah. And like, what's the matter? I'm like, he probably wanted to figure it out on his own. So I was like, put it back. So he put it back, and then we like moved the recliner just a little bit to kind of help him because he could not get in between these two spaces. Right. But he wanted to see, like, how do we do this without being like mom and dad who are really tall. So we moved it over a little, and he wedged himself in there, and he got his dump truck, and he came out with it, and he was so excited. And I just feel like, yeah, that's just it. It's like, it's just interesting how he kind of demands that from us. But I think that, I don't know if it's just the way parents raise their children that then they want the teacher to hold their hand or what. But I think that educators and even trainers, like, your clients will let you, like, they'll just look to you, like, put all the responsibility on you. Like, you're responsible for me losing weight. You're responsible. And, I just try to think of how we can make this applicable to all of our coaches out there, like massage therapists, personal trainers, like, giving your client a project or giving them some homework or something. I think can be really valuable, like giving them an exercise to do or a product to go and purchase to help with the sore muscles or whatever.
Yeah, I think I don't know why there's that kind of thought that, well, just give it to me, just tell me that. Like, it's influence, it's I'm sure part of childhood, it's part of the education system and the way that it's yeah, like, I mean, who knows, there's a ton of factors that I'm sure at play, but that's not what learning should be about. Learning isn't about like that giving of information. It's how you synthesize that information. So arguably the content isn't the most important piece. Right. It's what you do with that content. It's what you synthesize from it. It's what you apply from it. And it's how you integrate that into whatever profession you're in. Yeah. And so it's not just about reading a book and being like, there, I learned it. No, you have and some people can truly do that, but there has to be like a greater piece to integrate that. Yeah. So taking that content, taking that knowledge and going, okay, what does it mean? And asking that question. And I think we've gotten away from asking that question. It's like, I have to read this book. I just have to get done with it. And I think we're all guilty of that on some level because we're busy, we're multitasking, we're, trying to raise families or trying to raise ourselves or whatever the case might be. So we get away from asking the why and the how and the what. and how that integrates into our lives. And I think there's a piece of the education system that's at greater fault for that. And it needs to change, but it will either change or it will erode itself away.
Yeah.
One of two things. It's going to happen at some point.
Oh, I just realized we've got tons of comments here.
Okay.
So Eric says, love Seth, one of my most influential virtual mentors for years. Yes, thank you, Eric.
Totally.
Eric told me this video changed his life, and I was like, well, I have to watch it. And then I sent it to Aaron, and I sent it to like 5 people, and I can only hope to change lives the way that Seth has changed mine in just like a month. Billy says, dreams don't work unless you do. Maybe it was Confucius.
Confucius says great things. We'll go with that.
Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Totally true. Yeah, these ideas are not new. They're recycled, but sometimes we just need someone to put them back in front of us again. Like, like put the broccoli back on the plate.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Seth ideas is staying focused on who you're serving. Community is all about the larger fabric. What are the threads depending on you?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Eric is so like I'm saying, we have this great audience that's not just trainers. Eric is a marketing and branding specialist and very, very creatively talented as well with visual creativity and I would say life creativity. But that's cool. So who you're serving, yeah, that is really important to remember who you're talking to. So Irene says, I couldn't agree with you more about the approach to learning. My master's degree is in elementary education. It's a battle to get those kids motivated to learn. Ooh.
Word.
You can imagine. And Eric says, yeah, Irene, I felt the same thing teaching business students. It's all about gaining enrollment.
It totally is, because guess what? Enrollment is tied to funding.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like, it sounds like Seth's like online MBA program is selling out and they're getting results. And I just love what he said about, just try. Like he says, I made this, want to try? And
yeah,
like,
it might suck, but do you want to try?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like a little kid, like, hey, I made this ice cream. You want to try it? Or I made this new toy. But like, he says that, we're just so afraid of failure. And I feel like with the education system or like even the way we do certifications, you and I have talked about that, like the standardized certification, multiple choice, like that's how you certify lots of people all at once. And that's the heart of what NFPT does. And it works to an extent, but we've challenged ourselves this year, Aaron and I, to think, how can we further our trainers' education outside of just giving them more information? I think about that nutrition course. NFPT has a really awesome nutrition course that Aaron might be updating this year. And I think about my anatomy course. And I think instead of giving them education, what if you gave them a project? What if you said, go try the ketosis diet for a month or whatever? Or like, you go try these different diets on yourself. And in the act of trying those diets, like you're going to learn about what's in them. Like, or if I told people like, I've been racking my brain on this with anatomy, like how to I've given my students projects and workshops, but how to bring it online. Like I would say, I want you to look at the hip joint and tell me all the muscles that flex it. And so I could do something like that. Instead of telling them what the muscles are, you go figure out I'm going to tell you there's 8 muscles that flex your hip. You go figure out what they are. Like, I think that's what Seth is getting at. You think?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. It's that application-based learning, that project-based learning.
Yeah. And Eric says pulling, not pushing. And he says context. He's so I love Eric. He put spaces between the letters to make it
to emphasize.
How do you be creative when you only have black and white keyboard?
Yeah.
Eric will figure that out for you. Context. John says hi, you too. Hi, John. Glad you could join us. So yeah, I was so excited to talk with you about this today. Like just about how we could, even write our blogs differently for trainers, like writing a blog that puts someone out on a mission instead of just telling them here's, I'm trying to think of your most recent blog that we just edited, which was the difference between wellness coach, health coach, and personal trainer. Like there's surely a way to get someone to go out there and figure out the difference between that.
Yeah, like almost integrating a challenge, you know, into it. Like, I challenge you to do X and report your findings, or ask a deeper question. Because I think when we do those things, I love when my students ask me questions, because it tells me that they're thinking, you know, or that they're wondering about something that's beyond, you know, A, B, C, D, or none of the above. You know, they're thinking beyond that realm, and that, I think, is important, and we need to welcome more questions.
Yeah.
And so offering some sort of challenge and saying, okay, tell me what you think. What does this mean? It's one thing that Billy had posted, reminded me of a course that I took in my doctoral program, and it was theory of change. And one of the projects that we had to do was read Plato's Parable of the Cave, and do like basically a breakdown analysis of it. And I had never read it, and I had always thought, oh God, this is going to be so hard to get through. And I was sucked in, because really and truly, the meaning of that whole work is about enlightenment. And that's really what we need to be doing in education, whether it's inside a classroom, or it's online, or it's simply an exchange between two people. That's what we need to do, is work on enlightening each other, and raising that level of consciousness and awareness, so that we all become better thinkers, wider thinkers, longer thinkers, you know, long into the future. And I feel like if education could just wrap its head around that thought and go back to ancient times, that's really what it's about, enlightenment. And now it's about enrollment. And so I think that's where we see that degradation. That's coming from someone that has spent nearly 17 years as an instructor in higher education, both at community colleges and universities. And I tell you what, if it's happening here, it's happening everywhere, because it's a system, and there's dis-ease inside that system, and it's not going to just be reformed by this law or that law. We have to do it through thought and thinking and problem solving. And in some ways, we've forgotten how to do that. And I think that was one of Seth's message in why he went this route with the MBA. He wants people to think, not just think alike, but think for themselves and come up with their own solutions. You get group think involved, and that's how you get an education system. Group, one dog barks, the rest bark, and nobody knows what we're barking at.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, but not when you're on the inside of it. It's annoying. And so that's my soapbox, I guess, about being an educator and making sure that we don't forget that that's our root as professionals, in fitness and health and nutrition. You're a teacher. Teach. Don't just talk.
So good. Yeah, I'm so excited about the potential for the future of what we're doing with NFPT, because we basically run a school of sorts. We have this book and this certification and a blog and continuing education, and look out, people, because
hold on to your butts.
It's potential. So I'm just excited to keep this conversation going. Like, I even think about the prompts that I put on the blog post, you know, just the question that you ask at the end of the blog, or the question you ask at the beginning even can be that could be it. Like, here's a question for you. Like, see if you can answer it. And then here's the blog if you just have no clue where to start. But I just feel like the way you phrase a question is so important too. And that was one thing that I got excited about too. And Seth was like, you know, what can you do today? And there's so many things I want to do, but I only have like an hour or two a day to work, because I'm a full-time mama, and I don't want to put my kiddo in daycare, because I love spending 10 hours a day with him. Like, it's just so fun. And that's the way I want to do it. But I'm like, what can I change? Because I can't add more work, but I'm like, I can tweak my writing. I can tweak the way I use my words. And so I just feel like, you know, like you said, you can just talk, or you can really be mindful about the words you choose and the questions you ask and how they're proposed. And so I'm excited about that this year, about doing that. Last year, I worked really hard on tweaking my titles for my blogs. And this year, I want to really tweak the action, or like the the quest, the step. Yeah. So, and let me see what Eric said. That's a great thought. Yeah, it's about focusing on the things that don't change, the elemental. It's what Seth does.
Yeah. One of the other things Seth said that really resonated with me was the fact that stop reading reviews. You know, haters gonna hate. They're gonna troll. That's what they do because ultimately they see something in you that they themselves lack. So let that be their burden. And I appreciated that because as a writer, as a teacher, as a mentor, your work will always be in the eyes of critics. And don't place stock in the opinion of someone you do not value yourself. Mm-hmm. And I kind of look at it from, I do not have the time to demean the work that somebody else does. So if you do, what in the hell are you doing with your own professional? Are you working on yourself, or are you just going to complain that this so-and-so didn't write their intro right? Or, that kind of petty garbage.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you've got that time to criticize and pick apart and demean somebody else's work, your focus is not where it needs to be. So you need to pipe down and go take care of your own to-do list. It's just the way I feel about it. And before, as an educator, when I first started, man, nothing gives you thicker skin than when you've been in education as long as Bev and I have, because you get these petty, ridiculous comments. Those aren't the ones to focus on. Like, I didn't like the textbook my instructor picked. I don't give a crap. Not your choice. Like, that's tough, man. I'm sorry. And I used to take all those things and internalize them and be like, I'm never going to be good at teaching. And that's the worst thing you can do to yourself. So don't do it. Don't listen to those opinions that don't value. Listen to the thoughtful, fair, balanced feedback. And on the flip side of that, make sure that that's the type of feedback you give somebody else.
Right.
Because, one thing that Seth Godin said in relation to that was creativity is messy. I loved that. Creativity is messy. So let your mess be your message. And when you go to criticize somebody else's work or critique it, treat it as if it's your own. Don't just land blast it because it's an opinion you didn't agree with. Think about it like, what can I learn from this? Or what can I offer that's, not a jerk comment? You don't got to be an asshat when you're given feedback. Don't do it. Don't be jerks. And I loved that he was just like, I don't read those reviews. No. I don't care. I'm like, I like you.
Yeah. He doesn't even read the. Why am I echoing? I'm gonna. I'm still echoing. He said that the New York Times bestseller list, like,
I love that.
What did he say? It's a scam.
Scam, yeah.
Like, don't pick me. It frees him up, and he talked all about like, don't try to be famous. Like, don't try to be popular. None of that's gonna get you anywhere. Just
doesn't matter.
Something to your audience that. He says, change people. I love this. Change people into people who believe they have a genius. Because he said, like, I'm not a genius. You're not a genius. We all have genius inside of us. We just need to bring it out. And he says, change people so they believe they have that, which I love doing. I love helping people realize. Like, I did an interview a couple of days ago with one of our authors and trainers, and I found out he wants to be a presenter like me for IDEA. And all I had to do was just be like, you've got it, man. Like, you're ready. And now he's applying. And that was it. Like, that's all it takes sometimes. Like, he was just like putting it off. He didn't realize he had that potential. Like, I love helping people realize they have potential. So I was so happy to hear, like he said, change people into people who believe that they can help others change. And I just sometimes, when you're working online, it's hard to know if you're making a change. It's hard to know if you're changing people. And that was why it was so great to get on that interview with that guy, because it made me realize, like, I just made a change right now just by connecting with him and talking with him. Like, that power of connection is so huge. And so I feel like it was just like a ripple effect. Like, Seth made me realize, like, I can make a change in people. And then it's like a ripple effect. And then he says, change people to see the world as it is and know how to influence others. So those are definitely some missions I want to bring forward for us as we trudge forward in this company.
Right. And one thing you just said about your interview and encouraging him to apply and be a presenter is weaving that network of the disconnected. So he wasn't necessarily connected with IDEA, but you are, and you gave him that encouragement. You kind of, I guess, fueled the fire that was already present. It was already something he wanted to do, but perhaps was holding back for whatever reason. 9 times out of 10, we hold back because we're afraid. And what are we afraid of? Criticism. We're afraid of failure. But like, put good energy out there in the world, and it will come back to you. It might not be immediate, but it will at some point. And you helped him, the disconnected, make a connection. And I think that that's so valuable. That's better than anything right there.
Yeah, it's so nice. I love helping people, especially people like him. He's changing so many lives, and he can continue to do that. So we have some more comments here, and a really good question. John says, a lot of times when people disagree with you, if they look at what they say, you find they are so far off from what you said that their opinion is meaningless.
This is a fact.
And here we go. Billy's putting us to the challenge here as we wrap up our time. I knew this was going to be a little longer one, but that's okay. What are 3 things to tell or ask a client that can help them change their habits to reach their goals? There might be a whole show on it. So.
I was going to say, yeah.
Let me see what you have to say, Erin, because I'm not sure.
Are you tapped out? I think, it's not limited to just 3 things, I think. And keeping in mind that the people you work with, client, colleague, student, whatever, is an individual. And so their levels of motivation are going to vary. Some are going to be better intrinsically, others are going to be better extrinsically, or they need that carrot of sorts. So I think one thing that you can tell or ask a client is just, what do you enjoy? Do more of that. Now if it's scarfing down an entire pizza, maybe not. But nonetheless, like, if you have a client that's not already currently active because they're doing it wrong in terms of, well, if I want to lose weight, I have to go run and I can't stand running. Maybe nobody's ever asked them, well, what do you enjoy doing? Are you a snowshoer? Do you ski? Do you like to swim? Do you like to dance? Those types of things, asking them, what do you enjoy? And then finding out how you can integrate that into their daily life to then support the achievement of those goals. Yeah,
I agree. Something just came to me too. If I try to bring it back to, I'm like trying to think, what would Seth say, Yeah. I think that it would go back to that, like, change people to believe that they can even just make a change themselves. Like, just trying to get they always teach us in behavior change, like, you want this person to really believe that they can have fun exercising. And that's what you just said about enjoyment, like letting them know, like, it's okay if, like for me, it's like, I used to feel bad that my strength training for the week is with a resistance band in my house, like for 20 minutes. I'm not doing 3 times a week an hour weightlifting. I like going out and skiing and hiking and walking, and that's what I do for my exercise. And I do not have a gym membership, and I do not like going to a gym, and I do not like using the equipment. And I used to be like, there must be something wrong with me, right? Because I work in the fitness industry, but like, I love the way that I work out. And I think that that's an important message to put out there. Like, people don't have to have a gym membership, and they don't have to. No. And so I think, like you just said, like helping a client see that fitness can be fun. And then they look at you as more than just a trainer. They look at you as their coach. They look at you as a health coach. And maybe they don't see you 3 times a week in the gym, but they contact you once a month because you're you invigorate them and you inspire them. And then you have like 100 people like that contacting you once a month for that inspiration instead of 10 people seeing you 3 times a week and having you hold their hand. And I feel like the fitness field is transforming in that direction. Hopefully, like that's where the whole health coaching phenomena started, is that we don't want to have to hold people's hands. We want to inspire them and like get them out there to love their fitness. So I feel like doing that, and don't be afraid as a trainer, like to lose a client because they realize that they don't actually like lifting weights. Like it's okay. Like you liberate them. They're going to tell all their friends, like, you won't believe it. I have this trainer told me not to go to the gym anymore.
Yeah.
That might sound crazy, but like you're going to attract more people that way than if you're just trying to talk people into like, you need to come to the gym 3 times a week. You need to lift weights at 40% of your max every day. Like, I just feel like, so things to ask or tell a client to help them change their habits, liberate them, set them free. Like Ian said in his interview, which is going to post on February 9th, he said, Ian Nimblett, such a great wisdom. So for such a young guy who's running a gym for 3 years now, he said that he eats 80-20. Like 80% of the time he eats really well, 20% of the time he lets it go. He looks great. He has energy. He's thriving. Like he's running a successful studio and he's being real. Like, I'm not going to eat perfect. That's not what a fitness professional is about. So I feel like when you say, what are 3 things to ask or tell a client? Like you said, let them know the secret. Like,
yeah, there is no secret. Like, let go of perfection. It's not about perfection. It's about effort. It's about persistence, consistency. That's what it's about, is developing those habits. It's not about fitting into a perfect mold.
Yeah, I feel like consistency. I'm going to write that down. Consistency, not perfection. I feel like that's the theme. That's been like the theme this year. Just consistency. Like there's no secret to fitness, to nutrition. You just got to consistent. So Angie says, sometimes people just need a fan, someone in their corner to root them on. You can make a powerful, positive impact by just caring and sharing the love. Yeah. And there you go, right there, from the director of certification for NFPT. That is the heart of what we do.
You got to care. And you have to communicate that to clients and to anyone you work with. You have to care. And if you don't, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. That's why we're here on this NFPT Facebook page of all the companies we could be hanging out with. Yeah, Angie, what she says here is the way she treats all of her trainers, all of her employees, and I just have to throw that out there.
Very true. 100%.
How's grandma doing, Angie? I hope she's doing better.
Yeah, me too.
So if anyone has anything else to share or any questions, we welcome those. We're about 45 minutes here. We try to keep our shows around 30 to 45. If you found this information helpful, click the share button or, bring someone else into the conversation. If you're just joining us, we're talking about this video we watched that really inspired us. The link is in the comments. I highly recommend, if you guys are feeling good, go watch that video. Come back and tell us, something that you saw, because I loved, Erin, hearing some of the things you thought, because I didn't even really hear a lot of that information about I did. Seth said that he was rejected. I wrote it down. How many times? Where is it? He was rejected like 800 times. 800 rejections for his first book. 800!
Yeah, and he's a best-selling author.
Yeah, what if you go out there and market your business to clients and 800 people tell you no before you get your first client? Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes sometimes. Like, I feel like people underestimate marketing. Like, you've just got to share it. And that's why I'm like, I'm going to keep sharing my content, because I know that what I'm doing is valuable and I just need to keep on sharing it. Because he says also, the 10,000 hours thing. I think that's a Tim Ferriss, right? Is that a Tim Ferriss?
I think so.
10,000 hours to become, and I was like, I don't know if I've done 10,000 hours of freelance writing yet. I've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years, and I don't know if and I certainly have not been promoting myself on social media for 10,000 hours.
No. Me either.
But yeah, I loved hearing what you had to say. So if anyone has anything else they want to share, like something they saw, you can always comment on the show afterwards. Like if you're watching this later, you don't have to hide. You can always like throw something in there. Erin and I will get an alert. We'll come and let you know that we saw what you wrote, because I'm hearing that we're having a lot of viewers watch the show after the fact, which is awesome.
Yes.
But don't be shy. Comment. And I don't see anyone else popping any comments up, Erin. I don't know what we're talking about next week, but I don't really care. We'll figure it out.
We always do.
Okay. Something really good. We know we've got February all planned out, but not next week, I don't think.
Yeah, not next week. So we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll put it up. So just you can subscribe to the NFPT Facebook page, the live show. You just click the little button in the upper right-hand corner and subscribe to the show, and then you will get notified. Or just join us next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, noon on the East Coast, and 9 on the West Coast. I don't know why I always do that backwards, but I always start with us, and then I go east, and then I go west.
Yeah.
So, yeah, come and join us next week. Put it in your planner pad, or your bulletproof
planner,
whatever you use. Just stick it in there every Wednesday and come and hang out. And if you have any topic ideas, we always welcome that. So let us know what you thought about this. If you like talking about, a mentor of sorts.
Yes.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yep, sounds good. Have a good day.